All right, let's just jump right in. If you're here, my guess is you are tired. And I don't mean just a little sleepy tired. I'm talking about that deep in your bones kind of exhaustion that has you questioning everything in the dead of night. This is probably the question bouncing around your head on a loop, right? Why does my baby wake up at night? Maybe things are getting better. And then, boom, you're back to square one, up again, just desperate for answers. And man, it is such a lonely feeling. That cycle, waking up, soothing, rocking, feeding, trying to sneak back into bed, only to hear that little cry an hour later. It can really truly feel like the night is never going to end. And in those quiet moments, it's so easy for your brain to go to that place. What did I do wrong? Did I create a bad habit? Is this my fault? So let's just stop right here for 1 second. Let's take a breath together, because what we're about to get into might completely change the way you see these tough nights. And this right here is the whole point. We have to shift our thinking. Most of the time, your baby waking up at night isn't a problem you need to fix. It's a completely normal biological phase that you just need to understand. So let's unpack why that is. Okay, first things first, we have to talk about biology. Because the honest truth is, your baby isn't waking up to make your life difficult. They are literally biologically hardwired to wake up. A lot. You see, a baby's sleep cycle is incredibly short. We're talking just 30 to 60 minutes long. And here's the kicker. At the end of every single one of those cycles, they come to the surface of sleep and briefly wake up. It's actually a built-in survival mechanism. Now look at this comparison. It's fascinating, right? As adults, our sleep cycles are way longer, and we just roll right through those transitions from one cycle to the next without even knowing it. But for a baby, they have way more of these transitions, and they spend a ton more time in that light, active sleep phase where it's super easy to be woken up. So when your baby wakes up, a lot of the time it's simply because their little brain is still figuring out how to connect those short sleep cycles together. That skill, connecting sleep cycles, is a major developmental milestone. It's a sign of brain development, not your failure. And on top of that biology, their tiny bodies and brains are just working around the clock. All that incredible growth has to be fueled, and all that learning has to be processed even at 3 in the morning. So there are two massive drivers for waking up. First, the obvious one, hunger. Their stomachs are tiny, but they're growing at an insane rate, so they need to refuel constantly. And second, developmental leaps. Their brain is working overtime, practicing all the new skills they're learning, like rolling or crawling. I love this analogy. It just makes so much sense, doesn't it? Their brain is like a city being built from scratch, 24/7. There's construction everywhere, new connections are being fired up. Of course it's going to be a little loud and disruptive to their sleep. And this is exactly why we need to change our language. Let's just throw out the term sleep regression. Honestly, it's not that at all. It's a developmental progression. Your baby isn't moving backward. Their brain is taking a huge leap forward, and their sleep patterns are just trying to keep up. Next up, we've got to zoom out and look at the whole picture. Because what happens in the middle of the night? Well, it often starts hours and hours before bedtime. Sleep doesn't just happen in a bubble. It's all part of a 24-hour cycle. All right, this is one of the most counterintuitive things for new parents to wrap their heads around. An overtired baby doesn't sleep better. They actually sleep worse. When they stay awake too long, their body gets a rush of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, and that makes it harder to fall asleep, harder to stay asleep, and leads to, you guessed it, even more waking. It becomes this really vicious cycle. You know, sometimes the reason for waking is a lot simpler. Because babies spend so much time in that light sleep stage, they are incredibly sensitive. A tiny sliver of light from the hallway, the dog barking down the street, or just being a little too hot or too cold, any of those things can be enough to jolt them awake when they might have otherwise transitioned to the next sleep cycle. Now, let's talk about something really important. Comfort. When your baby wakes up and cries out for you, it is not a manipulation tactic. It's a genuine communication of a deep core biological need. So when you go to them, when you offer that reassurance, you are not creating a bad habit. You are building trust. You're building a secure attachment. And here's the secret. A baby who feels safe and secure, who knows you will come, that baby is actually set up for healthier, more independent sleep in the long run. You're making an investment. So let's bring this all home by talking about redefining success. Because honestly, so much of the stress we feel comes from holding ourselves to these unrealistic expectations. It's time to move the goalposts. You know, when you hear experts say a baby is sleeping through the night, they are not talking about 12 hours of uninterrupted silence. Not even close. For a baby, a solid 5 or 6 hour stretch, that's a huge victory. That is sleeping through the night, and it deserves to be celebrated. Look at this. We tend to get fixated on these big, flashy goals, right? Like 12 hours of silence or dropping all night feeds. But real, meaningful progress is so much more subtle than that. Is your baby giving you just one slightly longer stretch? Are they easier to settle when they do wake up? Do the nights just feel a little bit calmer, a little more predictable? That right there, that is progress. So please remember this, your baby's sleep is not going to be a straight upward line. It's going to have peaks and valleys, good weeks and rough weeks. It's not a race to perfection, it's a winding developmental journey that you're on together. And that kind of leaves us with one final question to think about. What if we shifted our whole goal? What if success isn't really about achieving that perfectly silent, uninterrupted night, but about knowing that you've created a supported one, a night where your baby felt safe and loved and knew you were there for them through it all?
Remember, every baby grows in their own way. If you ever feel unsure, a pediatrician or trusted professional can help guide you. And if this video made you feel a little less alone tonight, like and subscribe to Tiny Humans 101.